Hello everybody, this is Mr. Loy, your friendly D&D teacher. Today is 25th June. Of course, the school calendar is term 3, week 4, day 4. And we are still in phase 2 of the reopening of our country. Now, of course, everyone is excited for week 5 next week, 29 June onwards, Monday onwards. We will be back to the new normal. Alright, the reason being Secondary 1 to Secondary 5 students will be back, the whole school population will be back, but we still have to ensure the social distancing, and at this point in time we still have to put on our face mask, right? Phase 3 has not started. So what we are going to do today, we'll be focusing on the 3D sketching. Now this week during your home-based learning for lower secondary 71s like yourselves, you would have actually watched the videos, alright, including the Mr. To's explanation for pages 12 to 15 on the 2D to 3D sketching. And today I'm going to also follow up with the supplementary lesson for pages 12 to 15 as well. Now just a quick recap. The last video you watched for the supplementary lesson was page 10 and 11. Okay, just to refresh your memory, I show you how we borrow shapes from iconic symbols, alright, things that represent Singapore, because the theme is Singapore SG United. So this was the page that you saw. And towards the end of the last video, we did this, alright, the mirror image technique. So you take the shape from the previous stages A, B, C and D, and then you draw half of it and you mirror over to the other side. Okay. Now for today, I'm going to use another new journal. Alright, apologize, my journal dropped. So we're going to start off from here, and I'm going to highlight to you which are the iconic representations of Singapore, so that we can ease in before we move to page 12, 2D to 3D sketch. So let's move over to my over-the-shoulder view. Alright, hi again. So this is page 10 of your A3 D&D journal, and you would have already done this, alright, to use one or part of the shape on the previous page 9 to generate ideas here. So there are 4 rectangular grids for you to come up with amazing ideas. Now for this page here in particular, alright, remember to indicate which representation that you have actually selected from page 9. For example, if I were to rotate here, you can kind of like guess that this could be the shape of our country, right? It's the map of our country itself. Of course, this is where I highlighted that you may want to sketch the platform. So what you do here is you label here as a map, alright? Now down here you can see there's a combination of 2 iconic symbols, one of which is our Changi Airport Terminal 1 control tower. Alright, so I borrowed the shape here, and remember you hash away those unwanted region. Down here you notice that actually it is the canopy of the super tree, alright, at our Gardens by the Bay. So actually there are 2 shapes that mix together to form this outline, okay, or this area that we wanted. So you label as close as to the symbol as you can, or the iconic representation, what it is. So in this case is the super tree. The third one here, alright, is a bit tricky. Just to show you, alright, I wrote down here flyer, alright, can you see here the capsule, and this is the supporting beam, and this is the area of the main support structure for the Singapore flyer. So if I will turn to this page on page 9, you can actually see quite clearly that I took this part of it, right, this area, but I actually cut down, instead of 2 I used 1, and actually you see this bit as well. Okay, so this is the Singapore flyer over here, alright, I did not draw over here. Then the bottom part, alright, it looks like also the MRT, okay, the front end of the MRT in this way, right? You can actually see this part like that. So what I did was I actually created it. This is the window, all right, and look like the MRT. So I label it as MRT here. And of course, you do the usual, all right, make a decision on the spot which area or boundary you like to keep. And of course, the simple rule to apply is that between two regions or areas, you keep the larger surface area, right? Reason being, we want to keep as much acrylic as possible to make your toy display stand. Now, last but not least, over here, all right, you can't really make out what it is because it's also a combination of two iconic representations. So let me just orientate a little bit for you. You can see that this is actually the top part of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. This is the Sky Park, this is the swimming pool, all right, this is the observation deck, and these are the three main hotel itself, right? So it just help you to see over here, right? Next, this way, actually, I wrote ASM, is our Art Science Museum. You can see this silhouette of it, all right? This is the outline. So it's actually this big here, right? And again, you apply the same steps, all right? Decide which boundary to keep and then which area to be the unwanted regions. Therefore, you hash it out, all right? So this is it. Now, why I wrote here chosen, because we need to proceed to later on page, all right? To focus on our page 11 as well. So let me just quickly flip over to page 11, which is your this week's work as well. So as you can see, the instruction is to choose 4 designs, each from A to D stages, right? So from your page 3, page 4, stage A, you choose one, you draw half of it, and then you mirror it over and try to sketch the little bit of rectangle to indicate where the platform for your toy aeroplane will be. Stage B will be one of the design from pages 5 and 6. Okay, so again you transfer it over, come up with the template. Sorry, not the template, but rather the platform. Okay, and you hash the unwanted region as well. Stage C will be your last week's work. All right, that you borrow from pages 7 and 8. Okay, so you can see here. If you have chosen this idea on page 7 for stage C, you just indicate that you have chosen it. And I just want to show you that it is the part that you actually have chosen, okay? So it's actually this bit coming down here, this bit coming down here, come down. Can you see the little circle? All right, so this part we do not want it. So we're going to cut it off. And of course, it goes back up here, right? And then you mirror it over. So this is how it looks like. Fairly different from your original idea, right? So the mirror technique actually helps you create something more symmetrical. Last but not least, okay, this is the last rectangular grid for you to choose one of the designs from stage D, which is what we just covered, all right? One of the shapes here. So in this case, I kind of like have chosen this one. See, I indicated here chosen. Just to orientate you here, this bit is over here. This bit is over here. Can you see the slope in? All right, and then coming out here, and it goes all the way down, and a little bit of support here, and you mirror over. Okay. Now take note that of course this is the easiest to create your platform because you have as much material for the acrylic as possible. This is still possible, but it's a bit narrow because this material here will be removed. This is almost the same as the first one, except the top part has been removed. Okay. Now likewise, this part here will be cut out, and your platform in this case is now an elongated rectangle. Okay, this way. So depending on how your mirror image will look like, you have to adjust the platform accordingly. And now we're going to move on to page 12, 3D sketching, design 1. Down here it spans from page 12, page 13, design 2, page 14, design 3, as well as page 15. Okay, 15 is a little bit special because it has a platform here, right? So you're going to choose one design from your 3D sketching here and replicate it down here as well. Okay, this time around is with a platform on page 15. So let's start off with page 12. Now you're supposed to sketch 3 selected designs on page 11, which is this one here. So out of 4, you actually choose 3 to sketch for designs 1, 2, and 3. So obviously I'll go in that order. So this is the first one. So what you do is, this is no difference. All right, let me just flip this way. You can see it's slightly wider, right? And there's a reason why there's a dashed line here. All right, eventually it will become your bending line for your acrylic. So don't worry that too much yet. Just transfer this shape, all right, over here without the platform at the moment. So you can see for yourself, is this entire image a little bit wider over here. Okay, so now we are on page 12. From 2D shape to 3D form, all right, the difference obviously is you will see not just the front surface of the shape, you also see the thickness, all right, so that's another surface area. And of course, from the top view, you can see the top surface area as well. So it gives a 3-dimensional impression. So what you do is, you have to start somewhere, right? So obviously, we normally start from the top. So it's somewhere this big to this big here. So what you do is, now instead of sketching it on a horizontal line, it is on a slanted line. Okay? So I sidetrack a bit just to show you that this is actually isometric view. Because if we have an imaginary horizontal line here, right, the vertical line makes a 90 degrees with the imaginary horizontal line. This vertical line is now one of the isometric axes. There are 3, so this is the first one. The second one, all right, it is a slant line, which happens to be this one here, all right. It makes an angle of 30 degrees with the imaginary horizontal line. The horizontal line is not an isometric axis. So this one is your second isometric axis. Okay, of course, logically speaking, the one that branches out or extended out from the so-called origin here makes 30 degrees with the imaginary horizontal line, and therefore this is your third isometric axis, which is this one here. Okay, so back to this. So what you do is just transfer over here, bring it down, and this bit goes all the way here. So of course, just imagine the dashed line is this line here, the dividing line. So it goes all the way down, and this part here ends here, just a bit, all right, over here. So you just sketch it over here, and you complete the so-called view, all right. Then the next thing is from 2D to 3D, right? You've got to add the thickness. So this template helps you and guides you in creating the thickness for this shape. So what you do is, maybe we start from here, all right? You have to extend this edge line, and this edge line is parallel to the guide that you see here, all right? It's actually this isometric axis here. So you just extend it across, and just to show you this one, all right, if it's projected backwards, so it's a parallel line here, you project it backwards, so basically they are parallel, and what you do is you just darken it a little bit, all right, in that manner. So you don't darken here, you darken here, because that's the material over here. And to close it up, you form the top surface of the object. What about here? So same thing, it comes down to this point here, right? Because if you were to tilt this object, you can see the surface area. Likewise, for example, this pencil casing, if I don't look it from the front surface, I look it at an angle, I will see this thickness here, right, as well as the top area. So similarly, just look at this arrow, project it down, and come up with a parallel line. And of course, you darken the corner edge here, and then this one here is actually again parallel, because the thickness is uniform, it's the same for now, all right? And of course, this one here, same thing, they're all parallel lines, so this one is also parallel, okay, parallel. Then just darken a bit, and then you join the line by darkening the edge. What about here? Okay, can you see the surface? Yes, you can, all right, because of this portion here. So you transfer it over to this side. Similarly, they're all parallel. And of course, the thickness, all right, is over here. There you have it, right? So this one is the front edge, this is the back one. So down here you can't see because the bottom surface actually rests with the tabletop, right? Now over here you can't really see the thickness, all right? You only see the edge line like this example. So you don't see the thickness, so you can't draw anything. Similarly down here, all right, you don't see any thickness, all right? You only see the edge line. And of course, last but not least, at this area, at this angle, for now, you can't see the thickness as well. So this is your 3D form now. Okay. Last but not least, darken with the 4B pencil. Now in the tutorial, all right, this week's SLS lesson, you may also see that the use of a straight edge. In this case, I don't have a ruler right in front of me. You can actually run the line through, but I don't really recommend you to define that edge at this point in time. You can just draw freehand so-called straight lines. Now down here, what happens is you can see that it's the same height more or less, but down here is actually shorter because we bent this area here, right? Of course, the distance is not to scale. So looking at this being the bending line of your acrylic, so again, what you do is repeat the same process here, down here, come down all the way to here, all right? And this part here is actually part of the material is no longer there, so you don't follow this edge line, but you come in and slant a little bit over here, up to here. And of course, this bit is over here. And this slant line is from this end here, all right, over to here. So you just sketch the line. If you're not really confident, what you do is you use a straight edge like a ruler, and then you run lightly that line, and then you just follow through freehand. Okay? Now let's continue. This part here is over all of this, they are all the same. And here is your last slant line over here. Okay? Now this part here is the same. So what you do is you quickly define the edge line and then you darken to create your top surface. Likewise here, again, this is also the parallel thing, right? And then you just close up here because the thickness at the moment is uniform, it's the same. Darken this edge line because you can see the edge line. For example, down here, you can see the edge line. And this one here, you've got to bring all the way down the material. All right? This is the base, so you bring all the material down. Now this is interesting here, okay? I apologize because it's slanted, so I have to use an eraser to erase this bit first. Now this part here is interesting. You have to see that it actually goes up to here. So you have to follow this vertical line, which is one of your 3 isometric axes. So this vertical line you can see, or vertical edge. Likewise, at this end here, you can actually see as well. So this is the surface area that you can actually see from this view. Now what about this part here? Because it slants in, right? So you will have to create a parallel with the top edge line, all right? Because I'm seated and the camera is fixed at that location, so I have to rotate the paper for now, okay? So the rest you can't see, okay? So I pause here for now. All right, we are back here again. So just now you saw how a 2D shape transformed into a 3D form and with the bending line. I just want to highlight in real life, all right, in real world, when you thermoform or you bend by heat on acrylic, this area of that actual acrylic is actually compressed, and the further part here, the other side, is being stretched. So of course, on drawing like this, you don't actually really show for technical drawing, you don't really show the kind of detail. All right, just take note that there will be some material compressed here, and therefore it's not really a clean kind of bend, right? Okay, so based on this week's SLS lessons, pages 12 to 15, inclusive of the video that you have just watched, all right, and also provided by Mr. To, I want you to choose, not much of a choice, all right, you have 3 left. So out of these 3, choose one. For design 2, do the same, 2D shape, convert to 3D, and the one with the bending line. And last but not least, for page 14, design 3, you do the same. You have 2 more choices left, choose one and do it. And of course 15, that's the only difference here. I'm going to demonstrate how you can actually sketch this platform, all right, over here. So if you would like to rise up to the challenge again, you can actually practice coming up with a platform over here per se. So you saw that on page 15 there is like a window because this material has been cut out, and then we apply heat, and then you can bend the acrylic over this way, all right? Of course we use former to guide the bending. So for example here, all right, you can actually gauge where you would like the window to be. Of course, as you can see, what I did was I run a parallel line with this edge line here to a certain height. Okay, so this is just a sketch. Let me use the 2B. Now vertical is also one of your isometric axes, so you can actually create a simple rectangular platform first for now. Now this slant line, of course, is always very challenging. You just bring down from the top and you should be able to sketch this. Okay, so it's this one here that I did. Then of course from this view you can see the thickness, all right, the inside thickness for this particular area, but not so for the top and the one that is nearest us, okay, because this thickness you can't see, it's blocked by the opaque material. So down here what you do is you kind of like borrow the parallel line across and a vertical line or edge, all right, about this thickness. And down here, of course, you just extend the parallel line over to this side, okay? And of course, you need to darken the outline, like so. All done freehand. You may want to try and use a ruler to help you guide the straight line, and then you run the lines over, okay? Now that's the window that you cut out, but as you can see, we don't really cut everything, all right? We only cut these these lines here. This one we don't cut because if you cut, the whole thing will come up. So that part we did not cut, we will actually apply heat and bend. So what you can do is you can actually kind of like come up with a horizontal platform, all right, as such. So this is just a guideline for us, rather for me to gauge, all right, how much of a thing that I'm going to create. So this amount here should be the same there, all right? It cannot be too long, cannot be too short. It can be short because you can actually cut off the material, but it cannot be longer than the window that you cut out. So down here is the projection, and of course vertical line is actually your isometric axis. So you quickly come up with a sketch that covers the platform. Alright, so of course you darken this so that this becomes less defined, and you have something like this. Okay, so I end the video for today.